Now, for our leading story, we head to the United States, and newly released documents linked to Jeffrey Epstein, including court filings, contact books, photographs, and flight logs, list numerous prominent political figures and public officials. Legal authorities stress that being named in these materials does not imply criminal wrongdoing and often reflects social or professional contact over many years. Several individuals named have publicly denied any knowledge or of any involvement in Epstein's crimes. Among those appearing in the records are former US Presidents Bill Clinton and current US President Donald Trump, Britain's Prince Andrew, former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak, former US Vice President Al Gore, and former New Mexico Governor and UN Ambassador Bill Richardson. Other names include Robert F. Kennedy Jr., now US Secretary of Health and Human Services, former UK Cabinet Minister Peter Mandelson, former US Senate Majority Leader George Mitchell, former US Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, and Sarah Ferguson, Duchess of York. Courts continue to redact portions of the records to protect victims, and investigators urge caution in interpreting the disclosures. Joining us now is Alison Mutler. She is the former Associated Press Bureau Chief of Romania. She joins us live from Bucharest. Thank you very much for joining us, Alison, here on NewsX World. Of course, Alison, these were not what people expected. Epstein's victims came out today and said they were dissatisfied with the US Justice Department's handling of the release of these files. They say that this isn't true transparency, and there are really no new developments have come to this. As we have previously stressed, just because one's name is mentioned in the files is not an implication of guilt. Alison, what are your thoughts in regards to how this might develop? Do you think this is going to calm those critics down, or simply ignite tensions further when it comes to more transparency?
Well, first of all, you're never going to satisfy all the victims. They've had a lot of trauma, and they want justice. And just releasing pictures of Bill Clinton in a hot tub, or Mick Jagger with his arm around a girl, or other, political figures like the former Israeli Prime Minister is not going to satisfy them. It doesn't take the pace of a trial of justice. What it does serve to do, releasing this batch of pictures, is to embarrass those people who appear in those pictures, whether they have been, it's stressed that they're not accused of criminal wrongdoing, as you said in your report, but it's also very embarrassing. The questions are asked by their friends, by their colleagues, by their families, what were you doing here? Now, I think releasing these photos and travel logs and other things is necessary. There was too much political pressure on Donald Trump and Congress not to release them. But that does not mean, even when they are all released, or as many as are released as we can expect, it's not gonna silence critics. It might silence some critics, but it really won't silence the victims in the slightest, because there is no indication of a judicial procedure here beyond social embarrassment, particularly as the Department of Justice is saying there's no indication of wrongdoing. Will it increase tensions? It might just create more confusion. It might embarrass, at least we know who is on the list. Some of those people aren't well known, they're not globally known figures, like the ex-governor of New Mexico, but obviously someone like Bill Clinton and Mick Jagger and the former Prince Andrew are global figures. But it will embarrass those people, and it will get questions asked. I mean, who knows, the former government of New Mexico may be removed from the boards of associations where he's serving on. We don't know the ripple-on effects, and releasing a batch like this does throw up new questions, and there will be effects that we won't be able to see immediately.
Alison, of course, when it comes to the current political climate, there was two current heads of states named. India's Prime Minister and Mohammed bin Salman were mentioned. In different contexts, no admission of guilt there, of course. Donald Trump's name, however, not in the release. We have seen some controversy when it comes to redactions. One possible image that was originally in the files and then just a few hours later seemingly removed, which did have the US president depicted in it. What does this mean for the grasp that Epstein had, the circle that he had? Through the years, of course, we've seen him have mingle with US presidents, movie stars. Kevin Spacey was there, Mick Jagger, as you said. As a financier, Epstein, of course, took lots of documentation, lots of photos. What does it say about the circle that he of course hung around with?
Well, this is a man who clearly he did very well financially. He wanted power. People who have money generally do want power. So he surrounded himself with the most powerful people in the world. And why is there documentation? Because power means having information on these people. So I think these pictures were taken actually probably with the idea that they would blackmail these people one day. Now, Epstein himself committed suicide. He died in 2019 and when he was in prison. But even beyond the grave, him taking photos of those people, and those photos have now been released. And that was the aim, that there was such heavy documentation of all these people, was so they could be blackmailed in the future. I assume if he ever needed any favors, he would say, I've got these photos of you. And, you know, whether or not, you know, he was, when he was prosecuted, was it 2000, investigation started in 2005. But even if these figures say they had no idea, it's very clear some of these women, although we haven't seen their faces, were very young. So, and I'm not sure these people who were in these circles, mingling in these circles, were telling their wives, their families, etc., etc., I'm just going on holiday with this nice friend of mine. There was something I'm sure they wanted to keep hidden. And that is why he made documentation, and that he took photographs, that he took records, so they couldn't pretend they weren't there. I mean, he wanted power. He was a man with a lot of money. He obviously had a certain amount of charisma, and he was very well connected. He must have been a great networker because he's gathered people from all different walks of life, from entertainment, from politics, from finance, etc., and also people who are traditionally considered sort of public enemies, like Bill Clinton and Donald Trump, and also the former Prime Minister of Israel, and other people, and the MBS, the Saudi Arabia leader. So he had no morals, no scruples about it. He just wanted as many powerful people as possible, and he wanted them there to increase his own power, but also to blackmail them if necessary. And in a way, he has done, but he's not around to see it because he's dead.
Yeah, indeed. Alison, stay with us, of course. We'll continue to bring you all the updates coming out of the United States and that situation with the Epstein files as we do get them. But next, we move over to the Caribbean for another update in an ongoing situation. And the